So first of all, what is public money? Public money is government issue. It's backed by central banks and is used in 25% of current transactions. And it has physical form. We normally call it fiat money. It is also involved bonds and other kind of government issued things. While private money are are issued by commercial banks, are regulated by central banks, are today used in 75% of transactions. They're digital private money. This isn't just talking about banks. Also, you can also talk about new fintechs or new apps that have been using it. For example, Starbucks. Starbucks has some digital currency where you can only buy coffee with it, their coffee. So it has really evolved. It has some problems. First problem about public money is that it's not digitalized. It's outside of the digital world where we spend most of our times, especially through the pandemic, and it has to be backed by a central government. It, it is subjected to monetary policies that you may or may not want, and it's really hard to move. While private money has this problem with regulation, it is constantly changing, so it's really hard to regulate. It is since it is by commercial banks, it has to be community backed in a way or privately backed with money that, example of banks, is not from them, it's from their customers. And it costs a lot to have money since you have to store it on servers and you have to keep in those transactions. When you're talking about fiat money, you don't have that problem. So what are the main issue with public money? It's the regulation. How are you gonna be able to translate to private money? So the first challenges are that we have to regulate in the correct way, and but not limit competition. That means getting into meeting like everything about DeFi, decentralized finance, and a lot of new players and new approaches on making transactions. Um, we have the to see how are going to have the possibility to collaborate internationally because the regulation can't be just in one place since the idea is to send money everywhere. Uh, then we need to realize if we actually can live without public money. If we can do everything private bank, private issued, digitally. If it is, it's amazing. We continue that way. And the last thing is the use of personal data for transactions and visibility. Since being anonymous has its pros and cons, we have to think like, what are we gonna show, how are we gonna show, and who are we gonna trust with the data, so we can make sure because the government we should be able to trust them, but when we're talking about private players, not so sure. And the problem I have is it's expensive. We're slow to react when we're talking about regulation. It's really difficult to police because they can be in places that if they are not in the international regulation, we will never get to them. And the commercial incentives that it has. We have to see how we can keep the unbanked and other parts of the population with usable services that if we don't have public money, we have no way to reach them.